It's perfectionism. We want everything to be perfect. And that's one of the most common ways that people self-sabotage. Hey, y'all. Welcome back to another episode of Check Yourself Podcast, where we take a step back, reflect, improve, and grow. I'm your host, Annie, and today we're going to talk about self-sabotage. If you ever have started something, didn't finish, or got in your own way, this episode is for you. Let's get to it. I want to go back to the basics a little bit. What is self-sabotage? Simply put, it's when we consciously or unconsciously prevent ourselves from reaching our goals. It can show up in so many ways: procrastination, perfectionism, negative self-talk, and even doubt. Have you ever set up a big goal for yourself and then you start feeling overwhelmed, then end up scrolling through social media or just binge watching a show and never get that? You never get it done? That's me. That's really self-sabotage at work. I'm going to share a little story with y'all. So as I've shared, or as you've already know, right, I have a book out called Taking Your Dreams Off Life Support. And if I'm fully transparent with y'all, the book's been ready for years, but I never, ever released it. It took me almost 4 years to really release it. And it wasn't because I didn't know have the tools. It wasn't because I didn't believe in it, but I was just like, oh no, it's too big. What do people think? I was just sabotaging before actually putting it out there. I was giving myself, and it wasn't people. Let me just go back. I was the one in my own head, literally saying, this is what people are going to say. This is what people are going to think, without even knowing or putting anything out there. So instead of me releasing it 4 years ago, it took me till last year, Thanksgiving, Black Friday, to release it. So 3 years of self-sabotaging. So when I tell you that I understand and I've been through it, I've lived it. But what's good is I overcame it. And that's why this book's here. So here's the kicker. Self-sabotage isn't just about avoiding failure. It's often about avoiding success. Yep, you heard right. We sometimes are more afraid of what happens if we succeed because it's stepping into a new identity, it's stepping into a new world and a new level of responsibility and a new set of expectation. Let that sink for a minute. Do you think you do self-sabotaging? Yeah. Recognizing self-sabotage can be tricky. Do you know why? Because it often shows up like this. I'm just waiting for the right time. Oh, I just want it to be perfect. Oh, I want to meditate on it some more just to make sure I have the right process. But really, those are all excuses. I'm guilty of it. This podcast right here, I hesitate every day. Every time it's time to record, I hesitate because that's just what we do. And one of the reasons is because it's perfectionism. We want everything to be perfect. And that's one of the most common ways that people self-sabotage. Another way it shows up is in your Instagram, your social media. And I know you're probably like, Annie, how? Let me give you the scenario. You're about to post. As we're talking, you're thinking about whether to share. You're thinking about what to post, how to share, what to post, but you done deleted it like 3 times already. Why? Because you're like, nobody cares. No, that's not the right word. No, what if somebody says this? They're going to think that. And automatically you start self-sabotaging. So it shows up in our daily lives, unconsciously and consciously. What if I told you that that very post is about to save somebody's life? That very post is about to shift somebody else's thinking. So you're not only robbing yourself, but you're robbing others from hearing or getting a different perspective of life. Your voice matters. Go ahead and post that. Breaking free from self sabotage isn't easy, but it's definitely possible. I want to share some tips with you to help you when you're going through that. The very first one is very simple, it's awareness. You got to be aware of, or better yet, pay attention to when you're avoiding something. Ask yourself, why am I avoiding it? Am I afraid? Am I truly busy? Or is there something else that's stopping me? Once you can figure out where you're at and be true with yourself, then you can start to confront it, right? So that's step one. Step two, break down the smaller tasks. Example, I want to write a book. Okay. To say that you're going to write a book in a day or 24 hours because you see all these YouTube people and all these folks that are like, hey, write your book in 72 hours. If you're someone you know that's a lot for you, break it down to smaller steps, right? The very first step, I would just break it down and write the outline. Second step, maybe just start jotting general thoughts. Whatever you do, just break down the bigger goal into smaller, actionable goals so that it doesn't feel overwhelming. Are you ready to take your career to the next level? Yes, you, I'm talking to you. Are you ready? Listen, here's what I want you to do. Open up that tab right now and type in www.elevateconsultantsllc.com and book your call with me. I promise you, you will not regret it. Step three, set boundaries with yourself. If you find yourself getting lost in social media, distractions, set some boundaries. Use apps that limit your screen time or designate specific times for you to focus on your work. Create a no excuse zone where you commit to taking action. And that doesn't have to be for a long period of time. Be realistic when you're setting these goals. It could be something simple as for the next 15 minutes, my phone's on do not disturb. I'm not answering anyone. I'm not answering any email. I'm going to focus and get it done. Build up to it. Don't feel the pressure to try to set boundaries that are major and that's big and like, hey, I'm going to work for 2 hours and you haven't even done 2 minutes yet. Build up to it so that you're able to sustain it and that you feel more successful. Here's something you may not expect. Self-sabotage often feels like a relief in the moment because you're like, oh yeah, I'll get it done. Like you put something off and you go on to something else. But truly, if you go back and you're still in the same place you were a year later, then what? You created a pattern that's not good for you. And I'm raising my hand because I'm victim to that. I told you guys before that I wrote the book. I had the vision for the book, the title, but then took 3 years. For 3 years, I was in the same place. I would get back like, I'm going to release it. Yeah, guys, I'm going to release it. It's an editing and it didn't come out. I'm getting this vulnerable with y'all because I want you to really understand how it shows up and how you really could be stuck. Now, that doesn't mean I was succeeding in other places in life. I was. And because of that, putting off the book didn't bother me, didn't feel so heavy until one day it did. So make sure the steps that I went through, that you think about it. Figure out a way to implement it into your life daily. And it starts with just daily, consistent action steps. Now that we've covered strategies, we talked about self-sabotage, let's check ourselves and see what we're going to focus on breaking free from in this season. All right, you guys. So I'm going to skim and just give you a synopsis. We have a listening letter from Marcus. Marcus said that he had the opportunity. Oh my God, you guys, he had the opportunity to audition for a famous film producer. And because of his own self-doubt, he missed the opportunity. He said he showed up, but then when I got there, I saw all the people that were in line that were auditioning. And I thought to myself, I could never be good enough. Even though they called me and sent me the invitation, I could never be good enough, and walked away. Walked away. He walked away from an interview that he was called on. That is a perfect example. Marcus, first of all, thank you for sharing. Thank you for being vulnerable. I see why you blacked out some of the names of where you went, and I understand that. And guys, this is an example. You have an opportunity of a lifetime. but you allow your own thoughts to get in the way. What is one area in your life that's holding you back? How would your life change if you could get over that small little fear? I really want you to take a moment, really think about that. Write it down. We all hear about making vision boards and doing all these things, and people do this big shenanigan things at the beginning of the year. And those are great and those are helpful because you need to have a vision. But I want you to take that one thing that's bothering you and write down what your life would be like if you achieved it. So, as we always talk about, what are you checking yourself in this season? What are you breaking free from? For me, transparent moment, it's the fear of feeling like I'm not good enough. Who am I to be talking about this topic? There's so many others who are more qualified. But I have to remind myself daily that I have a unique voice. My voice and my story matters. And the only person that could talk the way I do is me. So that's the same thing I say to you. You have a unique voice. Your story can only be told by you. There's no one else who could do it. So I challenge you all. I challenge each and every one of you guys that are listening to break free from that. Start with some daily habits, affirmations, however you need to. Start building yourself up. As I'm sharing these advice with y'all, just know I'm putting it into practice as well. So daily affirmations, ways to make sure that whatever it is that's holding me back, that one, I'm starting with fixing my mind and the way I think so that I'm able to share my story and know that my voice matters and using these practical steps that we talked about to achieve it. Let's do this. Breaking free from self-sabotage, it's a journey, you guys. It's not a destination, but each step you take is worth celebrating and it's victory. So here's some final thoughts. We had an amazing conversation today. We talked about steps. We went into depth about how self-sabotage shows up in just something simple as online presence. We talked about tips and strategies and ways to help that are very actionable and very doable in our everyday lives. You guys, I'm so excited that you guys continue to rock with me every week. I want to hear from you. Just like Marcus and all the other people who have emailed in, I want to hear from you. Send me an email at checkyourselfpodcast@elevateconsultingsllc.com. It's either somewhere on the screen or in the bio. If you don't remember it, just copy and paste it. Send me an email. Tell me about your story, whether it's career, whether it's life, whether it's how you overcome self-sabotage. And who knows, I may read it on our next episode. You guys, it's been a wonderful day. I hope that you have an amazing week. I hope that after you hear this, that you go and take some of these steps and apply it to your life. And if you have not, just remember, click the subscribe button. Show me that you're committed to rocking with me. Go follow me on social media, Check Yourself Podcast or Coach Annie, and I'll be glad to connect with you. We're out.